Hey, it's session 7. Yes, we've made it all the way to session 7. Listen, every week, I hope you're seeing the faithfulness of God as He meets us in these 10 commandments, this love letter written in stone, as He expresses how much He loves us through each command, drawing us closer to Him in His heart for us, and how teaching us how to love Him back. Listen, before we even dive into tonight, listen, let's just do a public service announcement. Every week, we're calling people to take at least 1 week out of the 10 to go and serve. We got some great opportunities. Life Group, it's not just about you doing life with each other. It's about that, doing life with each other, and out of that, us serving others. We've got some great opportunities for you to serve. Don't miss the full experience of the family of faith, the body of Christ, doing what we do best, and that's showing the love and the compassion of God. As your group gathers, think about some cool opportunities to serve. We've got a ton that are available for you. You can go to the website, madeforfellowship.com, and sign up for a service project. It's gonna be amazing. But all right, so tonight, I've been getting ready. We got a men's life group here. We going to, it should be fun, but it's commandment number 7. It's that one, man. It's that adultery. Thou shalt not commit adultery. I've been trying to figure out how do you say it, because we clap, you know what I mean? And how do you say that with excitement? You know, thou shalt not commit adultery. Thou shalt not commit adultery. No adultery. I don't know how to do it. Let's just get it started. Hey, stop doing adultery. Let's go. Let's get started. Session 7, come on. Hey, welcome to session 7. Are we excited, guys? We are excited. Listen, we are back outside here in the beautiful Pasadena area with an amazing guys life group here. And our topic for tonight is commandment number 7. Thou shalt not commit adultery. I think it speaks for itself. So have a good discussion time in your groups. Guys, let's call it a night. Let's it. Let's do it. No, we got to talk about it a little bit. First of all, I mean, I just got to tell you, just the topic alone, it's just, I mean, you thought murder would depress me. I was like, murder's great with adultery. Oh, my goodness. Tell me your thoughts. What are some of your thoughts and reflections? Like when you hear that commandment, let's just be honest, guys. What comes to mind? What comes to mind? Lee, I can already tell. I can see something.
You burn in hell.
You burn in hell. I can see.
I know, that's pretty. It's up there.
It's up there.
Yeah.
It's up there. Yeah. Yeah. What about you, Cormac?
What comes to mind is my father.
Yeah.
He's passed away now, but that there was adultery between him and some other people when my mom and him were together, and I just think of the effects that committing adultery has. And how it doesn't just affect you, it affects the kids and everyone involved. It's a big one.
Yeah.
It's a big one.
Wow. Nathan, what about you?
I feel like I've committed it without realizing that I committed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like just realizing the struggles that I've had in my life with pornography.
Yeah.
The addiction and the years that I spent. I thought it was something that only affected me, that it was something I could hide. It's just kind of like on the inside, and then on the outside, I look like, you know, this good kid that goes to church and does what he needs to do. But it was really destroying a lot of things in my life, my family, my marriage, and most of all, I was thirsting for something that could only be fulfilled by God.
Yeah.
And so it just left me feeling empty and ashamed and like I was living like a double life.
Yeah. Oh, wow. That's so good, Nathan. Thank you for sharing that. Wow, it's powerful. What about you, Ben?
I mean, honestly, the first thing that comes to mind is, you know, I guess with like every commandment, you're like, oh man, I'll never do that. But then the next thing that comes to mind is the verse that says, you know, whenever you think about a woman lustfully, you've committed adultery with her in your heart. And
it's like, ouch.
Yeah.
I already did it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what comes next.
Yeah.
When I think of adultery, I know that there's quite a bit going on, even amongst Christians. And people involved many times think that's the end of the relationship. But I know that, and I've seen that when there's true confession and repentance, by God's grace, there is hope
Yeah.
to get together,
Yeah.
you know, to get that love back again,
Yeah.
to reconcile, and get the relationship back.
Yeah.
It's not the end.
It's not the end.
It's not the end.
I'd imagine there are people watching who needed to hear that. Someone who needs to know that there is hope. When I think about this, I just think it's so heavy, and I mean, it's coming right after "Thou shalt not murder," "Thou shalt not steal." It's right in that mix, and it's important to understand with the commandments that they show up. I mean, let's just be honest. They show up in a negative context. They're written in a negative "Thou shalt not." So it has this negative vibe to it. But you've got to understand that at the same time as he's saying it in a negative sense, he's also saying a positive. So every negative statement, he's also saying a positive. So "Thou shalt not steal." He's not just saying don't steal. He's saying be generous. Thou shalt not murder. He's not just saying don't kill, but he's actually saying love. When you hear Jesus unpacking the Ten Commandments, he's saying it's not just about committing adultery, but it's this idea of how you look at a woman. So it's not just the sin of the action of the hand, it's how you look at a woman. What he's really saying is, in my context, how I've created it, you should have great sex. Sex should be this great celebration that's really a parable of the gospel. But when you take something precious and beautiful that I've given you and you take it out of context, it causes damage on multiple levels. Some of us are sitting here and we're not even thinking about us committing adultery. We're thinking about the adultery that happened to us, that shaped us as little boys. You want to talk about generations? So it's an admonition not just to not commit adultery, but it's also a freedom to say sexual activity in the covenant of marriage tells a beautiful story of a oneness, of a unity, of a love unrestrained and unrestricted that's expressed in this beautiful mutuality. It's the parable of the story of Jesus Christ and the story that he's writing in all of our hearts and our lives. He says when our relationship is consummated in heaven, and when we get to heaven, you think sex is good? It's only a glimpse of what an eternity with your eternal Father will be like when we will ultimately be one. We will come face to face. You will see him, and he says, and you will be like him. You will become like him. You will become one with him. So I just want us to know the world would have us think like it becomes so tainted, and it becomes this dark, rough, heavy thing. It is this beautiful thing that God created. Says just don't take it out of context, and don't make it an idol. Don't worship at the altar of it, because if you make that your God, it'll destroy you. It'll destroy relationships, it'll destroy marriage. Even if you're married, you can still make sex your God. He says, be careful. And don't make it this thing to where if you're single, it's kind of like this precious gift that's amazing if it's within the relationship and when it's within its intended purpose. But you take that same thing out of its intended purpose, it'll destroy you. Just because you can be stimulated in that way doesn't mean you need to be. What does it mean for you as a single person to say, God, just because that's a stimulation that's there, if I get it the wrong way and out of context, then I'll miss your purpose for it, and it'll have me down a path that I don't want to be on. He's so serious about it. He says, this is that whole passage that scares us all. The reason why we scared is because Jesus scared us. In Matthew, he says, if your eye offends, pluck out your eye. Hold on, Lord. Wait a minute. Till I take my eye. I think that's just his way of saying, this is serious. This is serious. Because when adultery shows up, it's like a level 5 hurricane. It destroys everything in its path. Stuff that you didn't intend to destroy. It's a beautiful thing. Sex is a beautiful gift from God when it's in the covenant and in the context of a godly ordained relationship under the covenant of marriage. Sex outside of that, it's destructive and it's hurtful. Destroys families. This is why it's a big deal to God. If you'll notice, all the commandments, they go vertical and then they go horizontal. We talk about it. It takes away from the other person, whether it's a man or woman, because women commit adultery as well. I mean, so it's not this one-sided thing. But he says, I don't want you to hurt my sons. I don't want you to hurt my daughters. I definitely don't want you to use what I created to hurt my children. No adultery. What would you tell your young teenage self about this commandment? About this whole area, if you could go back in time and give yourself a message, what would you tell yourself about this commandment? Jason?
Slow down, young chap. You moving too fast. You in the fast lane going a million miles an hour with the female, so you just slow down, the right one to come. And I think that's what we do when we're young. We think that's cool. You know, don't tell them that ain't cool. It's cool to be, abstinent and abstain and wait for that right one. So it's truly as special as it could be. But I tell them to slow down.
Slow down. That's good. What about you, David?
Wow. Well, I have a 19-year-old son.
Yeah.
So I've had these conversations here recently, and for me, it's just guard your heart, guard your mind, because it's really hard to go backwards. Yeah. It's really hard to forget what you've seen. It's really hard to let go of it, and for me, it's really just stay grounded in the Word and get that true wisdom, and not have to always. I think it's kind of a myth that you have to learn on your own, or let them fall and make that mistake, and they'll learn. And to me, like, the measure of true wisdom is learning from other people's mistakes and not repeating them.
Wow, that's good. That's good. Let's come over on this side.
I think I'd tell my younger self that, like, there's nothing that you struggle with that nobody else does. Yeah. I think I'd tell them that you're not the only person that's struggling with things. Because what's really helped me and other guys that I know is just being open and talking with other people. Just saying, like, this is where I'm struggling in any area in life. This is where I have idols. This is where I'm pouring myself into things that I shouldn't be, and just having people that are honest enough to call you on it.
Yeah. The isolation, man, is one of Satan's biggest lies. He tells you that you're the only one. No one else is struggling, so shut up. Don't talk, live in secrecy. And that isolation then, man, allows the sin just to fester, and it just gnaws away at you. So outing yourself and getting some accountability around you and telling the truth about where you are, Nathan, that's huge, man. That's huge. That's so good. That's so good. What about you, Corman?
So two things. I grew up in a very legalistic church, head bashing, don't kind of thing. So the first thing I would do is I would lift the weight of my teenage self and encourage myself to do the right thing for the right reason. Yeah. Not out of this sense of shame and guilt. Yeah. So changing my perspective on it. And the other thing, if I could kind of fast forward these behaviors that I started to see, like, this is how it ends up.
Got it.
This is who it ends up hurting. And this is just ultimately where this is going to go. Now you choose. Yeah. If I could do that.
Kind of think ahead a little bit. Hit fast forward. How does this end?
Yeah.
I would say that learn to trust that God's grace is truly sufficient. And I would get in some friends where we talked about it more. I just feel like we spent a lot of times wrestling through life, things that had huge life implications just by ourselves. Just us and MTV and us and the, 2 Live Crew, and that's just a terrible mix. You used to listen to a lot of 2 Live Crew, didn't you? I can tell. You don't know what that is. No, but I just feel like it was. I spent a lot of time in isolation, not in spaces like this where we're having conversations, talking about it, and having people speak into my life. The other thing that I would remind myself about, that I still got to remind myself today, is God's grace is sufficient. He comes to lift guilt. He comes to lift shame. And he can redeem and renew all things in all areas of your life, whether that's sexuality, adultery, anything like that. So I guess what I want to say is if you're watching this and Satan's kind of whispering in your ear, and he's saying keep secrets, stay in isolation, and also stay guilty and keep wearing shame, I just want you to know he's a liar. That's not your story. That's not your destiny. You are not what you did. Allow the grace of God and the gospel of Jesus Christ to lift the shame, because that's what he does. And that's what good, healthy, godly community does. It lifts shame. And know that through Jesus Christ, you can have victory from your past, in your present, and you can walk in victory in your future. We made it through session 7. We made it. No adultery is good. Listen, we're gonna keep the conversation going here. It's gonna be good. Keep the conversation going there. We made it through, let's just give ourselves a hand for making it through adultery. No adultery, all right.